Today's talk is about a wonderful film called Kung Fu, which in England we kind of translated the title as Kung Fu Hustle. But yeah, it's a Stephen Chow film, a movie by Chow. And a lot of people kind of, when you watch it, you'll think that this is just like a really fun film. And it is, it's just incredibly fun, but it's also actually got a lot of real depth. And it's a very symbolic film. There's a symbolic language being used by Stephen Chow. He is presenting ideas. Some of it is very simple and on the surface, it's in the dialogue. And some of it is, he's using symbolism, which matches the idea of what he's presenting. So, like at the end of the film, you might see this. You might notice at the very end of the film, you'll see that the main villain produces a kind of spike, and he tries to stab the hero. And the hero takes it, opens it into a flower, and then the flower floats off. Yeah? So you might wonder why there's this flower. It's random, it might seem strange, but that's because this is a symbol. He's communicating something using symbols instead of dialogue with this. So there's a lot of things like this in the film. So, it's rather wonderful. By the way, I'm going to be using quite academic, quite advanced English language while I'm presenting this. So, for a start, while I'm using that academic advanced language, I've provided a lot of what I'm saying here, so you can kind of read along with me. A lot of the vocabulary might be a bit advanced as well, but I'm also recording the talk, and I'll be putting the talk up on Xiaohongshu. So you can go back and you can watch and see what I was saying. You've got the words here, and you'll have it on Xiaohongshu, so you can listen, you can read, you can pause it, look at the words, yeah? Because this is going to be presented quite a lot like the way that I would present naturally to advanced English speakers, okay? So, without further ado, I'm just going to walk you through the very beginning, and then I'll get into some of the meanings. Right? So, as the music starts in the film, the music that you just heard previously, the film begins by following this haphazard path of a butterfly. You see this butterfly at the beginning of the film, and it's floating around. And the meaning of that reveals itself towards the end. But for the start of the film, you just see this butterfly wandering around. And then eventually it fades into the background, and you just think maybe this is decoration. And then you come to realize it's not relevant to the scenes that you're watching. And then it's just lost in the back of your memory. Kind of like, if any of you can remember the first time you saw a butterfly. I doubt you can remember the first time. The first butterfly you see is just lost in your memory. Just like in this film. It just gets lost in the background like it doesn't matter. And then we enter this kind of world of intimidation and corruption. We enter a different kind of world from the one that the butterfly is first fitting. We meet our hero here, and we meet him as a young man, and he's kind of crawling through a life in the gutter of 1940s Canton, or Guangdong. He's kind of unappealing. This is our hero, and he's a very unappealing character, and he's trying to intimidate the most vulnerable people in the land. So he's trying to crawl to the top. But from there, you start to sympathize with him, because you meet him and you see him coming face to face with one of the other heroes of the show. This is my favorite character. I don't know if you noticed, but this is Chow. Chow is one of Jackie Chan. Chung Long is one of Jackie Chan's classmates. She used to train with Jackie Chan. She's an old kung fu star. She didn't make it as big as Jackie Chan, but she steals the show. It's my favourite character in the Kung Fu Hustle. By the way, have you all seen Kung Fu Hustle? Have you all seen this film, Kung Fu? Yes? Yeah? What do you think? What animal is she like? Huh? Like a lion, right? With the lion's roar. Do you notice, when you first meet her, you see the hair? Chinese lions? The stone lions? You see the hair? So when you first meet her, there's a little hint. Yeah? It's very clever what Zhou Xingqiu is doing. So you don't realize it, but he's showing this lion, right? Yeah. Anyway, then after he gets a bit of a beating from the lion lady, Bao Fu, the landlady, he runs away, the main character, our hero Sing, runs away, back into the gutter, and our empathy with that character starts to grow as he's pointing to his surroundings and expounding a philosophy of cruel, unjust nature of life, and his aim to rise from the curbside into a life of crime. He wants to come up from the gutter. And this is kind of about like an inner struggle of the spirit that's taking place inside the main character. And he's stating his readiness to leave all of his innocence behind, even by killing, in order to attain his desires. But for now, if you remember near the beginning, he steals an ice cream from a girl who can't speak, a mute girl. And she's just struggling to make an honest living in the same streets that he's haunted. So this is the beginning. And as this is a Chinese martial arts film, one of the themes in this film, Kung Fu, is a struggle to not be a victim. If you watch enough Kung Fu films, you realize that this is a main theme in Kung Fu films. It's a struggle to not be a victim while maintaining your innocence and existing in the mortal world, like Yuan Zhen. How do we do that? And that's kind of what a major theme in Kung Fu films. And it's a universal concern. It's not just for Chinese people. Everybody has this concern. How do we maintain our innocence while existing in this world that is not perfect? Right? But I think this the way that Zhou Xingqiu has written this, he's thinking of the Chinese concept of which we don't have a very good translation in English, but we have this word virtue, which is quite good in the old sense. Nobody uses this term anymore in England. You'll almost never hear this term in the West. We don't say the Chinese word de. We have a word, which is virtue, but we barely use it. But the Chinese idea has all sorts of things attached to it, which even the English ideas don't have that. If we say virtue, there are aspects of that which you have in de, which aren't in the English culture. So it's going to be slightly different. But this is what Zhou Xingqiu is very clearly, he's really aware of de, and he's making a film kind of about de in a lot of ways, which is a big part of Kung Fu. Anyway, so even though de cannot be fully, by the way, I'm sorry about my tones, my Xinjiao is not right, I'm sure, but so I just call it de. But though it can't be fully translated, it's being explored if you look at a flashback scene from Sing's formative years, which shows some of the philosophical context and conditions within which de is set and flourished in Chinese culture. So we've got this scene, and we see Sing as a young boy, and he finds a group of bullies trying to pull this bright, colourful lollipop from the hands of a little girl. And having learned and practiced bullet palm kung fu from 20-cent manual, Sing bravely challenges them, but dropping the girl, they give him a thorough beating, and then they walk off laughing at Sing's naivety and the girl's muteness, being unable to speak. And then Sing being overwhelmed by the apparent uselessness or ineffectiveness of the kung fu he's spent so long practicing when used against his adversaries, Singh rejects the girl's offer of the lollipop and runs off. He runs away in tears, unable to appreciate that he actually succeeded in rescuing the girl, and she still has her lollipop, even though he got a beating. But he's unable to appreciate his success. Right? So this kind of reminds me of something one of my Tai Chi Chuan teachers once said to me. He said that the life that most people live is like being adrift in an ocean, clutching a bit of driftwood to stay afloat. Sometimes the ocean is like desolate calm all around, and sometimes you have huge waves that are just throwing you all around. And most people live their lives like this, is what one of my Tai Chi Chuan teachers told me. And I believe this is linked to a context that a lot of Chinese viewers have when watching, because Chinese people will see this with knowledge of the Buddhist concept of all life is suffering, and of their notion of being alive in the bitter ocean. This is a Chinese idea and philosophy, if you look at these things. So this is kind of a portrayal of that, this scene, this sin being thrown around by these waves. But this first extreme experience of the bitterness of life overwhelms the innocence of our young hero, Singh, and unable to overcome the fear that what is good cannot survive in this world, Singh's Der goes into hibernation, which is why we later find him in a state of nihilism. So, he takes his beating and he thinks what's good can't survive in this world. And so then you find him in a state of nihilism, like nothing matters, just there's nothing to believe in. He can't try to resist the problems and so on. So he's just, his Der is hiding. Right? So for the beginning of the story, it seems that Singh, our hero, Singh's natural state is kind of pure and virtuous, but the innocent boy is now dreaming of a colourful life of crime, and he's trying to reincarnate himself as a gangster. And then we get this random series of events that are set in motion by Singh's immoral actions, and he eventually finds himself in the company of a man known in the jungle underworld as the Beast. That's the translation we have in English. I'm not sure what it is in Chinese, but this gentleman, wonderful gentleman. In the English translation, he's called the Beast, right? The Beast, right? So it's terrifying. Anyway, we meet this Beast sitting on the toilet, surrounded by toads, and wearing flip-flops. But to cut a long story short, the Beast is also kind of in a state of hibernation when he meets Singh. Like the pure innocent boy is kind of in a state of hibernation, hiding from the world. And the Beast is also kind of hiding from the world. But he's kind of attained immortality through mastery of toadstyle Qigong, and now he sits in this prison that he's chosen, waiting. And then Singh comes along and frees him from his cell and follows the Beast into a world of crime. But then things change, something happens, as it does in life.